Global Indian Network. Print, TV, events, podcasts. Find out more at globalindianseries.com.
The death of a culture is probably the biggest tragedy,
Yeah, absolutely.
and we are seeing this decline for decades, and that is what connected me to my culture and sort of helped me find my identity as well.
I was going to say, does a culture die or does it evolve for you?
I mean, it depends, right? If you don't give a rat's ass about it, it'll die.
Hey, welcome to the Global Indian Podcast, the official platform for people of Indian origin. Yes, let's face it, we are everywhere. Welcome back to your weekly podcast where we plunge into the human experience of being a person of Indian origin, take a second look at the countries we now call home, and take on the big discussions. Now, in this session today, we travel to Pakistan to meet with a dear friend, Rahul. He is a senior journalist. He's actually lived and worked in South Korea for a long time. He works with Red Bull and he's one of their film and music critics on that side. And he's also a film producer. This guy has got a lot of hats on. The conversation we take on and where we kick off from is having a look at this incredible world of culture and music and defining the two things. Is it a symbiotic relationship, or are things starting to change in the murky worlds out there? It is a remarkable conversation that takes a lot of dips and dives, as one would imagine, but I think you're going to thoroughly enjoy it. As always, I'd like to say a massive dear thank you and appreciation for all our supporters and sponsors out there, many of which you'll hear from soon. I truly hope you enjoy this remarkable session.
Hi, my name is Divya and I'm co-founder of the Global Indian Podcast. Before you get to today's show, I've got a quick favour to ask. If you've been enjoying our conversations, I'd love if you could take just 1 minute to leave us a review on the platform that you're listening to us on and share our work to friends and family. It helps us out a lot. Word of mouth is the primary way that we grow. Thanks for your continued support.
Hello, my name is Daniel Trassa and I'm Dean of Nova School of Business and Economics in Carcavelos, Portugal, one of Europe's leading business schools. I'm proud to be of Indian origin, and I invite you to discover these podcasts, which will look to redefine the impact that Indians and their descendants are doing all over the world. In behalf of Nova School of Business and Economics, I wish you a great 2021.
My name is Chitra Stern, and I am a proud Global Indian Ambassador and CEO of Martignal Resorts and Martignal Residences. We pride ourselves on the journeys that define a community, and our developments bring people together. Did you know that over 70,000 people just like us call Portugal home? The Global Indian journey has brought people together in a meaningful way, and on behalf of all of us at Martignal, we want to thank you for joining us in these remarkable conversations. We look forward to seeing you here in Lisbon post-COVID. Have a great day.
And just move. Get up 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 and just.
Is music a reflection of culture, or is culture a reflection of music?
Ooh, okay. I mean, again, I think it's both, right? Music essentially is culture. Music is what makes culture. If you remove music from any culture, it would just make it incomplete, I would say, to a great extent. Take, for example, the shrine culture that we have in South Asia. We have all these shrines and mazars and tombs, and people go and pray and all of that, and they live there essentially. And music is a huge part of that culture. You can't just, if you remove music from shrines, it's pretty much just a mosque, which is boring again. So yeah, this is I think the best example I can give you to clarify like what I mean. Music is culture. Music, along with any other art form, I think that is a reflection of what we do and what we are. And the songs they sing at shrines, for example, they're not songs that you would listen anywhere, that you would hear anywhere else. They are very specific, and they have been singing those songs for hundreds of years now. For example, if you go to Shah Abdul Latif Bhitai, he is a very famous, like a popular Sindhi poet. He's one of the greatest of all time. And people have been, praying and singing songs at his shrine for hundreds of years now. And, it's beautiful because what he wrote, like the poetry he wrote, he was a Sufi saint, he was a poet, he was a writer, he was a musician. He invented this music instrument called tamburo. And it's a derivation, sort of a derivative of an Arabic stringed instrument. So that he invented that, and people have been playing it on his shrine for hundreds of years, singing his poetry, singing his rags, and his melodies and the things that he wrote about. And his stories are still popular. So, and that is what makes like a huge part of Sindhi culture. If you go to like talk to any other Sindhi person, they would definitely know about Shah Abdul Latif, even if they don't know about maybe Major Lazer or Noor Jahan or anyone else. They would definitely know about Shah Abdul Latif, like, even though that it's been so long. So yeah, that makes up our culture: music, poetry, all of that. This is.
But then what happens now then? Because now we're living in this world where everything is interlinked. Now, for example, Sufi music is no longer seen as just culturally relevant towards one particular ethnicity. It can be picked up and adopted. And then you got like Sufi rock. I think we spoke about that you got this type of rock music, these lineages that come in with that. So then, does any particular ethnicity now own a form of music? Do you think that we've gone past that in terms of that tribalism? What are your thoughts?
Okay. That's a very interesting question, because a lot of people, like people who really own their ethnicity and their culture and all of that, they are very much, I think a lot of people are against that globalization of art. In a way, they're like, yeah, if this is my art, you can't do it, you can't, because that's going to make a joke out of it. I disagree with that perspective completely. I think if any other person from any other culture wants to come and really own it and really respect it and practice it, dude, you're most welcome to do it. Because I would love to do the same. I would love to go explore other cultures and sort of immerse myself in their art and music and play it even. So yeah, there's that. I think a couple of years ago I met this Pakistani British girl. She lives in London, I think, and she is an opera singer, and she's also a Sufi singer.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, would you believe that? And she is really, really good at opera. So, and she tries to combine these, Sufi and classical music with opera. And then it's so beautiful. Like when you listen to it, and you're like, okay, I get it. And her husband, who's I'm not sure, but he's not a local. He's not a Desi brown person. He's white, and he is also into music, and he plays that. And Peter Smith, if I'm not wrong, I'll share the name with you. But he is also very good. So he has owned up, and they're sort of wandering between both cultures and both identities, and they have merged them both. And it's the the level of respect you can give to any culture if you want to really go for it. Like if you don't make fun of it, if you really respect it, immerse yourself in it, practice it, and own it, then I think there's no problem with it. If anyone wants to come and explore.
What would be the counter argument to that though? Because the moment that we start talking about religious type of identifiable music, and then we start taking to a globalized context, that can then create a big form of anxiety to people, because we look at it as a cultural revolution. This is talking about taking the very frame of the language, that is that type of syllables, the way that the beats are working, and saying, well, this now belongs to the globe. But for others, as you rightly said, that this is so closely knitted to their personal identity that if you touch it, it means ultimately you're tainting it. What do you think is the cause of that? And obviously, when we look at that in perspective of Pakistan, there's been a lot of shifts and changes there. Likewise in India. Yeah. Let's be honest on that side, that people are trying to hold on to this thing, this element that even for themselves.
I think the main, I think what needs to be done is to detach your identity from your religion. I think religion, and I think that I'm probably biased when I say that, but I think, of course, religion has given you a lot of amazing music in history and continues to do so. But that shouldn't be a part of your, the core identity, element that okay, this is the music that originated and maybe spread because of religious motives. But then because now we're so far ahead of that, we are so far into the future, I think you can't just say this is the only thing that it should be used for. Kawali, okay, sure, yeah, it is all about spirituality and all of these elements. But doesn't mean that only one person or one group of people can sing that. Again, we were talking on the phone the other day, and I mentioned Jeff Buckley, right? So
Yes.
this guy, he was in love with Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, and he accidentally somewhere, I think in his dorm, once heard it, and then he, by the end, like in a few years, he had like 300 cassettes of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, where he would just carry them everywhere and he would listen to it. And he also sang Qawwali. Have you heard that Halka Halka Surur
I have.
cover?
Yeah.
Yes, by Jeff Buckley. Like it's beautiful. I mean, because the difference is he's not making fun of it. He's not trying to, just be like, yeah, I'll half-ass it and I'll just put on a cover and get some hits, or like, all of that. He really wants to feel that connection that Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan felt when he was, performing. And he respects it, and that comes out in his voice. It comes out in his performance. I think that's what that's the main thing, isn't it? It's
But
all
that's the
about
thing.
that.
But then on the other side, people say it's cultural appropriation. You're taking elements of our culture and you're using it for your personal gain. Although that's a very cynical viewpoint from the outside world. A
Right.
case example of that is when you hear the Major Lazer song that came out, and you can hear the beats. And for those who know, you can hear where
Right.
that beat originates from, and you think, how interesting. But for others who will be this traditionalist mindset of saying, no, those
Yeah.
beats represent my culture, it represents my Menelin, it represents this. You could see why they felt all of a sudden incredible senses of insecurity, because
Yeah,
that's
but
somebody's taken them.
don't you think like we should stop taking it personally, first of all, and then also we should really appreciate it because of that track, for example. Your culture is getting that that stage, that spotlight. Maybe it didn't before. Maybe it was restricted to your region or multiple regions, or maybe even South Asia, for example. Just and if somebody uses it, I see it as a sign of appreciation. It's not just because of the personal gain or profits or hits or YouTube views or anything else. I mean, sure, that shows in the track. Once you hear a particular track, you can see whether it's just doing it, whether the artist is just cashing in on this trend or this beat or whatever, or whether they really are owning it and they're trying to make something out of it. Because art is not like, it's not mine or yours. Come on, it's
Absolutely.
everybody's, right? This is what I always say. It's something I can't just say, hey, don't use Shabd Latif Bhai's poetry. I can't do that. Everybody does that. Everybody uses it. Recently, there's this non-Sindhi singer, Ali Zafar. He is very popular. He's one of the stars we have in Pakistan. And he sang a Sindhi song. And sure, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't, I didn't like it, but I didn't not like it because it was a Sindhi song. I just didn't like how he did it. That's my personal taste. But I respect the fact that he did something, and that really, it's beautiful. Like once you listen to it, because a lot of people appreciated it. And I am, sort of that. I won't just, criticize anybody who tries something different or who tries to take something from other cultures. I think I mean, that's the point of culture, right? We're trying to embrace everything. This is 2021.
Yeah, well, one would hope that we would have got a lot further compared to where we are, right? It's
Right.
like, what does identity mean to you? What does being a Pakistani mean to you, or Sindhi, to that matter? What does it mean to be a Sindhi to you?
Oh God. Okay, this is something I've been struggling with. I've been asked for a very long time. It's it's funny because I did not, I mean, as I said, I didn't grow up listening to Sindhi music. I didn't grow up watching Sindhi, cinema or whatever. We don't have Sindhi cinema pretty much. So, I mean, it went out of, it became extinct, if I can call that, before I was born. And, this is why I made this first film that I made. It was in Sindhi again. So I think the reason I bring that up is because that was my way of sort of going back to my culture, and sort of finding my identity in a way as well. It was really personal, but these are the small things that I've been doing. Like I made my thesis film in Sindhi, and then I was like, okay, everybody around me, my professors who are Sindhi or whoever I meet, any educated person, they're like, yeah, own up your culture, because I don't know my culture. What is my culture? So identity was a huge issue for me because I was, I grew up in Karachi, and then I went to like Korea. So there is those influences. And then I listened to pretty much like everything that is not my culture. I have had so many influences, it's hard to keep track of. So I did not realize what I didn't know. I probably still don't know what my identity is. I think more than a Pakistani, I would say as a Sindhi, I do identify now, because now I've been thinking like actively about it and sort of understanding where the whole culture comes from and where it can go, and musically, artistically, cinematic, when it comes to cinema as well, what I can do about it, maybe give back something or just promote it, because it's so beautiful. I mean, and we are the ones who have ruined it. I mean, the death of a culture is probably the biggest tragedy,
Absolutely.
and we are seeing this decline we have been seeing this decline for decades, and that is what connected me to my culture and sort of sort of helped me find my identity as well.
I was going to say, does a culture die or does it evolve for you?
I mean, it depends, right? If you don't give a rat's ass about it, it'll die.
That too, because it's like, because I find it fascinating. Like your world to me is mystical. It is up there with alchemy, right. Because you bring in like the stuff that you sent over to me. One of the instruments that's straight from a Harry Potter movie. The fact that this guy's making it with just the movements of his hand over the wind, and you hear that, absolutely. and you think, what is the future of music then? Is this now going to become in its own self? I know that this sounds very futurist, and I'm not attempting to do that, but in itself, are we now going to be creating a new language, a new linguistics that is through the vehicle of music? Because these instruments that we're looking at that are now coming through. That one is that you got the duduk that's over 100 years old that we're playing with.
Yes.
Then we got the other forms of instruments from across the whole globe. Each one of them are culturally appropriated to those regions, but yet somehow they're all tuning at the same. They all have the same type of rhythms behind it. We look at the back end, and that just leads me to believe that actually, as human beings, is there a striving viewpoint for us that there's a natural rhythm that actually connects us all together. I don't know. Maybe I'm going too deep here for Saturday morning, but
that's spot on. I mean, it's true because again, I talk about, because I have had this fight. Actually, you know what? Before I forget, let me just go back to that point where you talked about identity, and I mentioned the shrine culture, and it was, the thing is, it's all about God, right? It's all about spirituality and feeling one with the universe, and this, like just giving up yourself, killing your desires and all of that. So that is in conflict with my identity that I, have beside, apart from my culture, my individualistic elements. So they are in conflict again. We talk about the spirituality and all of that. I'm a materialist guy. I'm a hedonist and I'm a nihilist. I'm not a believer per se. It's something I have been struggling with for a decade now almost. And so that is also what sort of creates a conflict between my identity, which I have carved over the years, apart from my culture and all these influences, and then my culture. So when the culture and the shrine and music and all of that comes in, religious elements come in, I can associate myself because I grew up a Muslim, and then I was like, okay, now I'm not. So how do I react to this music? And that has also created a friction between within my identity, I would say.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. So
Right.
when you listen to the music now with a very different sphere, because it doesn't have the religious connotation to it,
Yeah,
you listen
yeah,
to it almost in the sense of the actual truest forms of music, the rhythm of it, the beat.
right.
Does it have the meaning? Does it have the message that goes beyond just something that you have to attach yourself towards its feet because it's got this religious connotation?
Right.
So,
So I personally ignore the religious connotations now. I don't. I mean, I do listen to it.
yeah.
If you remember, like that one track, it's not Pakistani, it's Indian actually. A.R. Rahman composed it for Rockstar. It's called Kun Fayakun,
Okay.
and Kun Fayakun is it's from Quran. You know,
Yeah.
what it means is God said, "Okay, be," and it happened. This is the literal translation of it. That is a very religious song, and it's all about shrines, even in the film. And I still listen to it because it's a beautiful song, regardless of its religious connotations. I don't care about the religious aspects of it. I love the melody. I love the way he sings. I love everything about it. So yeah, it has taken me a lot of time to sort of come to peace
I
with
get
that.
it because
Yeah.
Rahul, what you're doing is you're listening to the music as it is, not as
Yeah.
you are. You know,
Exactly,
as
yes.
you are would be saying, okay, if I'm going to listen to this piece of music, I'm going to have a cultural bias because one, I'm of a particular faith or of ethnicity. So therefore,
Right.
then I'm saying, well, I'm going to have to like this music because it has to be reflective of me. But you're saying the
Right.
moment that we pull ourselves out of that and then
Yeah.
listen to it, then we can actually really either appreciate it or in some cases realize, man, this thing isn't that good, you know, because there's a lot of
Yes.
cases like that, because you have musicians that will capitalize on that type of
Right.
religious context of it. And all of a sudden, as audiences, you're pulled in
Yeah.
almost as this underlying faith to say, well, if I say anything wrong against the music, that means therefore I'm saying something wrong against the religion.
Right. Yeah.
But that's not a good place to be for the development of music as a whole.
That's true.
Because
That's true. I think that's the thing. Like, one should be accepting of everything. I don't have to love everything that happens anywhere in any culture, in any art form. But the thing is, I should be able to understand where it came from and accept it for what it is, not, just all these filters that we have created, with identity is also a filter, I think, in a way. Like, this is what we have done. Okay, this is my identity, right? For example, these are the elements of it, and then I am seeing everything through those filters that I've created. I think we need to sort of remove all of that, break beyond those walls, and see art for what it truly can be, just a beautiful experience.
But you've got that because I think part of it is that you've had exposure, and that's the thing. You were in
Yes.
South Korea as a journalist.
Yeah.
You've been some really weird, wonderful regions, and also on top of that, like you deal with instruments that I didn't even know existed, and that's the other thing of it. And because of
Right.
exposure, it allows you to have a very different sound bite into how actually the creative aspects are.
Right.
That exposure is gold dust, but is not accessible to everybody else realistically, because most of us don't travel. So
Yeah, that's true.
what would be your advice to people out there then? What would be the things that you'll say, if you could do this, it'll give you a deeper understanding for what the musical language is in itself?
So I think I can't blame people who don't have access to internet and who are just surviving every single day. And of course I do. I mean, this is just me talking to you right now. We are privileged, right?
Yeah.
So we can't just turn a blind eye to that. So I can't blame anyone who doesn't have any exposure when it comes to, and who doesn't have any internet, or they're just surviving, hand to mouth every day, just trying to make ends meet. And but those who do have time, especially because now the young generation, they are like, of course they are hardworking and all of that, but they do still have time. They do think about these things that we're talking about to an extent. They have no excuse now, because like I did not, even before I went to Korea or before I traveled and met people, I used internet to the best, like to its most, like fully. I took full advantage of it, essentially. Yeah,
That's a telltale sign there, Rahul. That's a telltale smile.
Yes, I took full advantage of it. I used to listen to these Egyptian mythological chants and mantras, and my mother would be pissed off. She'd be like, "What are you doing, you infidel? Don't do that." And I used to I got exposed to Buddhism a lot, because Rahul, first of all, is a Buddhist name. So, son of Buddha. So I don't know, maybe that was the reason, but I got really attracted and invested into Buddhism. And when I went to Korea, I found, well, I went to so many temples, and one of the temples I got this book from there, and they had this chant, the Heart Sutra. And I used to listen to it like all the time. Gate gate para samgate bodhi swaha, right? Yeah. This is beautiful, and it gave me peace, and it gave me the peace that religion didn't. So that music, that chant, and the words, and the way they sang it, and the way they pronounce everything, that whole atmosphere, and even coming back and listening to it and reading the book and what it's all about, it's beautiful. Like, that is an exposure that I'm privileged to have, and it gave me that identity. It's part of me now, and I've used it. I wrote this novel. I started writing it when I was in Korea, and I just incorporated that in the book. Hope to get it published very soon, but yeah. So this is what I'm saying. What I mean to say is, just use the internet. Like, it's everything is there. Everything is just there. We just need to be curious enough to access it and sort of go for it. Everything, I don't know. I just Google. Like, I Google the most random things. You see my search history, you would be shocked, and you would be disgusted.
There's more things that happen at Bandcamp. It's
yes.
Wow. It's because I suppose music has actually taken you on this incredible voyage, hasn't it? It's been that.
It definitely has. Yeah.
You've got this intellectual, innate curiosity to actually want to listen to the sounds of the world. Because you do that, and then you're transforming that into your own work. Because obviously now you're a filmmaker. As much as being an editor. And you've got so many hats, Rahul. It is unbelievable, because you're obviously doing one side, and now you're creating films. What is the tonality? What is it that you hope to achieve from the films that you're making?
Well, a lot of things. So the first thing that I made, A Train Crosses the Desert, that was in Sindhi language again. So it's a very personal story about two brothers. It's about euthanasia. It's very dark. It's super dark. And it has made people cry, and I think it's very depressing. It's beautiful, but it's very personal to me. So I made that film in Sindhi language, and the characters in the film are two brothers who were musicians again. But you will see that the film does not have music at all. Like, no background score, nothing at all. So I talk about music, and I the only sound you will hear is the sound of the tambourine, the duff, the jhankar of it. So that's the only music used in the film. The whole film is about music and death, and brotherhood and loss and life and everything. It's a lot of things. So this was me trying to sort of like find an outlet for the grief that I experienced when my cousin died of cancer 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. That film was because of that feeling, and I channeled that into the film. The next one that I've made and the next one that I'm making right now, they're both about religion. So I'm trying to do a lot of things, not just music, but just trying to talk about all these things that I feel and I've experienced, and being the outcast that I feel I am. Maybe I'm not anymore, but at one point I was. That feeling of being left out, being this fly on the wall, observing everything that happens, and then absorbing that, and sort of channeling it out into my films. This is what I'm trying to do essentially.
Because it's a personal expression of who you are. So there doesn't have to be a label on that. It's saying, actually, my name is Rahul, this is my life, and this is my expression to how I see the world and how it's transforming. And yet as society, for some really weird reason, we try and pigeonhole everything. So Rahul, you are Pakistani, you're Sindhi, that means you have to be this. And you're saying, actually, no. Before any of those things, I'm Rahul and I'm on this planet. And therefore on this planet, these are the experiences I have. And therefore I control my identity, and everything you're now creating is a reflection of that. And that's what I think is incredibly fascinating. So it's not even just about the derivative of music. It's actually just having a look at the natural expression that you are as a human being. You keep on poking at something here that you're gaining my attention on. It's about being an outcast. Obviously, the type of language that we've used, like infidel. So tell me more about that side of your story.
Well, I mean, first of all, my name is Rahul Aijaz, and I was born a Muslim, which is odd enough for most of the people in Pakistan. Like, who in the hell are you? Rahul and Aijaz. Are you Muslim or are you Hindu? So
look who you talking to. My name is Rajan Singh Nazran. I've got all the three all rolled in one, you know.
So you know what I'm talking about. Like, all my life, I have been, I've been hunted by this, this perception. And I don't know, like a lot of people, they still think I'm Hindu unless I tell them otherwise. So this is part of my identity now. This confusion and is part of my identity. And I think maybe that's probably the reason my identity is a little, out there and like just going in all directions. It's like an unstable atom. So that is there. And then I grew up and I became very religious at one point, to be very honest. And then I was like, okay, this is not doing it for me. I am not, I'm not feeling it. So I just left. And it was, of course, an emotional reaction at first. But then, you sort of think about it and you explore. Because right now I'm reading this book on Greek mythology. I have been reading it for a while now, and it's wonderful. Like, I'm totally pro Kronos and Zeus and all these guys.
Yeah.
So, all these influences, they sort of, and this exposure to different religions and mythologies and ideologies and arts and expression, mediums, they sort of, I felt religion is not for me. So I left, I renounced it. And now people are like, I have to sort of keep it quiet now. I'm just saying it out loud. But this is something that has developed over the years in the last decade. I would say it has also come out in my writing. I would say a lot more than I thought it would be. So it's now I know, okay, I don't belong anywhere. I don't belong to one country, one land, one language, one culture. I'm everywhere and I'm nowhere. I sound like God right now, but fuck. Okay.
No, but I get it.
Yeah,
I absolutely
so
get it.
that has sort of opened me up, and I think that it's beautiful. Like, just not belonging anywhere, it allows me the freedom to be whoever the hell I want to be.
Yeah, because you've ended the tribe-like status of saying, actually, I belong to the world. I belong everywhere.
Yeah.
The wind, the oceans, the soil, everything that's out there is omnipresent, but also so is my cultural experience of this planet. Because I don't have one type of tinge which you look at it, which is what I think is actually the beauty of life, isn't it? And hence why obviously it's very easy for you then that when you are in the musical sphere or when you are in the film sphere, you can actually pick up on themes quite accurately and showcase it for what it is. And some people will naturally attach themselves. They'll get it. Those who know. Whilst others will feel almost a sense of tension because it's actually poking at them a question that they want to ask themselves, but they're too damn scared to ask themselves. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's where you come into this whole thing. Well, do you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure having you on this podcast. I think we've covered a lot, even though we started off with the internet problems, but we got there. That's the most important. Is there anything else that you'd like to add as closing sentiments of your life?
Man, I would just say, I don't know, just do everything that you want to do, pretty much. Be an existentialist, be a nihilist. I have a lot of conflicting philosophies in my mind right now, and I juggle with them every day. But I think that's what makes it fun as well, because then I can be whoever I want to be. I can talk about, religion. I can talk about music. I can talk about art. I can talk about, I am very much obsessed with, dark subjects, death and all of that, and loss. And it's wonderful to just explore all of that. So yeah, I would say, find your things, be open, and like, just do whatever the hell you want to do. We're here to have fun. We are here to have fun until we die.
Absolutely.
Let's just have fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like we're in existence, a plane of existence. Maybe this is the existence before birth, or maybe this
probably,
is
or after death.
Yeah.
This is probably the hell that we're living in, and I'm having a good time. So
it's not bad, is it? It's what a fantastic conversation. One thing I love about our platform is that there is no fear or favor. It makes no difference what social class or standing that you think you belong to. Once you're on, it is that human approach that I think makes this work so well. If you like this podcast and you like the work that we do, consider subscribing to our platform. All you have to go to is globalindianseries.com, hit the subscribe button. There you can keep up to date with all the work that we've been doing. It'll be straight into your mailbox. Also, as we mentioned earlier, make sure you share, you like, and you comment. Because with your help, we get to continue building this entire encyclopedia of the human experience behind people in the places that we now are. I really hope you enjoyed this session, and I look forward to speaking with you next week. It's going to be an incredible one as well.